G'day guys, I've just realised I had a few questions coming through, so if you still are there, come back on. I've got a few to get through. I think I've lost the normal chat, but I will answer some questions there. I'm sorry guys, I did not see the questions coming through, so all good if you haven't, if you've sort of taken off, but I'm going to answer some questions for you now, which will go on YouTube as well. Yes, Shane, it was awesome having Shannon on. She, as I said, she's always good to have. Who's the best Aussie welterweight going around? That's a very good question. Who was that from? I would say Ty Telford, I would think. Ty Telford for me. But I mean, it depends on who's sort of going where. Hang on, I'm going to bring up the ANBF ratings. Let's have a look. Alright, so we'll go to the ANBF ratings if I can find them there. Just going to bring up my screen. So again guys, if you're just tuning back in, I did go a little bit early because I had a heap of questions, so I might just pop on for another 10 minutes or something and answer a few questions. Sorry about there is a 30-second lag guys, so I apologise for that. If you've jumped off, then I apologise. What do we got here? So the lightweight, welterweight I should say. Let's have a look. The best welterweight. So we've got Ty Telford, Joel Taylor. That's obviously the next big fight. Ty Telford, Joel Taylor. So the winner of that, easily the best welterweight for me. Jason Malia, ranked number 13 there. Don't be surprised if at some stage he makes his way. So that's probably that. And then it's, yeah, Hassan Hamdan is another one that maybe could be up there. But definitely Jason Malia is on the way. But I would think the winner of Joel Taylor and Ty Telford for sure. The other question we had as well, IBF hard on everyone, yep, except Errol Spence, yep, good point. I'd like to see Stevie Spark, Liam Paro in the future. How good a fight would that be? I was going to actually ask Shannon about that as well. How good a fight would that be if Liam Paro and Stevie Spark fought, and who wins? James, thanks for coming back on, mate. I really apologise for jumping off. I did wait. Normally I wait about a minute before I jump off in case there's some questions coming through. So I apologise. Probably lost about 15 or 20 viewers, I think, at the end there. So I apologise, mate. Any big fight? There's none, I don't think, as far as the world stuff goes. I'm just going to jump on at the moment and have a look at the Aussie scene. That was the other thing I didn't do. Jesus, I got sort of caught up in everything going on there and didn't look at the question. Let's have a look there, mate. So I'm going to go to the webcam. All right, as far as this weekend's fights go, let's have a look. I'll just jump that off there. So you can see there, that's this weekend. Not really familiar with that card. That's in South Windsor. Where's that? Nelson Bay. Not really familiar with that one. The 20th of November. No, not really familiar with that one, I'm sorry. And then the big one, of course, Wednesday the 23rd, which we will cover in detail next week. So you can see there, Taylor and Ty Telford, Zarafa. Not sure whether you guys seen this week as well, that Michael Zarafa and his ex-coach / manager are at odds with each other, suing each other at the moment. So that's an interesting one. It's a shame it's got a little bit ugly. Let's hope they work that out. And that's probably about it, I think. Let's have a look. Yeah, that's it for that one. I'd be interested to see, do you think Gallen and Hodges, I'm assuming they'll go through with the fight. Gallen's obviously threatening to pull out, but I think he'll go through it. Money talks, of course. That's that one. And James, again, I apologise, guys. I didn't see the comments coming through till the very end, so I've lost all our viewers, but I'll just quickly go through the ones I had. Also, what are your wish list of fights in 2023? Worldwide, but mainly Oz. Okay, well, this is maybe something I might do next week or the week after, because we're probably going to finish this up at the end of the month, because I'm going away for a couple of weeks. Oh, geez, on the Aussie scene. Now you got me, mate. Let's have a look at, go back to the ratings. Let's go through them. Not really, hang on, I'll bring that up there. Not really much in the heavyweights, I wouldn't have thought. Justice Hoodie and Willis Meehan. I don't think that's going to happen, though, because it's probably too early for the guys. Too much money to be made. Cruiserweights, maybe, yeah. Opetaya and Waitley's probably one that maybe will happen towards maybe the end of the year. Light heavyweight, Connor Wallace, Paul Awakuso. How good would that fight be? Not sure that's going to happen yet either, but that would be a ripper. I did hear that Jade Mitchell might be fighting Blake Wells, by the way. That might be another good one. I'm just trying to think of the real super fights here. I haven't really got one so far that I'm really excited about. Not really much at super middleweight. Obviously at middleweight, Zerafa, Hardman. Yeah, again, not much happening there. I'll tell you what, super welterweight's pretty interesting. You've got obviously Nikita Tszyu, which is the big name in the whole scheme of things, I suppose. And I looked at the other day, obviously got Benny Mahoney. What did you think of that fight, guys? I didn't actually ask Shannon about that. I was probably a little bit scared. He got roasted, or his promoters got roasted big time over the weekend about his fight. Look, you can't really blame him. He just wanted to fight. I'm not quite sure the circumstances around how the fight came about, but I really felt for him that he had to fight someone like him. I think he'd been knocked out the first round in the last two fights, so it's a bit of a shame. But yeah, super welterweight, I'd love to see Nikita Tszyu in with, probably a bit earlier for Benny Mahoney, but Luke Woods would be a good one. Wade Ryan would be a good one. Cohen Mazudia would be a good one. Might be a bit early for Kamakao, only because Joel's very, very awkward and has this habit of just tying you up in knots. He's obviously going up to middleweight to fight Sam Solomon anyway. Danilo Crieti, who's fighting Zerafa, of course, he would be a really good one. So look at all these great guys at the weight for Nikita. Adrian I'll take the Victor Nagby fight. I wouldn't if I was looking after Nikita. Not to say he couldn't win, but it's a really tough fight for him, and he can fight. Victor Nagby. Ankle Shooter's another tough guy. So some really good fights here. Of course, Bo Belvin on the weekend won, so maybe he puts his hat in the ring. Fano Corey. So some really good fights there at super welterweight. What one would I like to see made? Probably none of those. I wouldn't have thought would really. Sorry guys, I dropped out a little bit there, so I apologise. Yeah, Brock and Nathaniel May. That would be a really good fight. Just trying to think of what else we got there. Luke Jackson, I don't think he's going to fight again. Not really much there. Potentially, though, how good would it be to say have a Liam Wilson, Harry Garside? I think that's a super fight down the track. Coolwell Wilson's another one. Some good fights to be had there, and that's probably about it, I would probably think. Who knows, down the track, could we see Jason Maloney and Sam Goodman? That would be a ripper fight as well. Hopefully, I would love to see that fight, and I think it's going to happen. Both with DNL. I think that fight definitely happens next year. So I would love to see that one. I don't think it's going to happen straight away. I think, well, who knows, but I just don't think, well, money talks, of course, but I think Hardman, he needs another win under his belt, I would think. And who knows, maybe he fights. You can see there, he's already fought Carlos. Probably not much for him there. He's got to probably go international. So back to James. That would be a good fight, Mitchell and Wells. Yeah, Wells can punch. You all remember when he dropped Anthony Mundine in sparring all those years ago? He can fight. Will Tomlinson talks him up, and they really want that fight. Apparently Hardman, Andrei Mikhailovich is off. Okay. Although it was never confirmed. Andre posted earlier, it's off. Asked the Princess why. Yeah, who knows there? Well, I didn't know that, James, about Hardman and Mikhailovich, but you're right. It wasn't actually officially announced. Lots of hearsay and everything else. It wasn't actually signed and sealed and set in stone. So until they're actually in the ring, they're not in the ring, are they? We haven't got a fight. All right. Some other questions there, guys. Again, I apologise. I didn't realise that I cut the stream off before then. We've lost a fair few viewers, but that's okay. We'll keep going. They can have a look later. Apparently asked the Princess why. Okay. Geez, imagine the build up to that fight. How good's that going to be? Hardman and Mikhailovich. That will be a ripper. I think the lead up will be even more exciting than the fight. Probably even more than the Zerafa one was. 30 years too late for the WBC on Fennec. Yeah, look, I said the other night, I think it was on the Boxing Deep Dive show, that I'm glad for Jeff that he got a little bit of peace of mind, but at the end of the day, is it really achieved too much to be recognised? I did mention also that Ruben Hurricane Carter had the same thing happen to him probably 40 years ago when he was given the WBC middleweight title when he got ripped off in his world title challenge. So there is a precedence to it, but yeah, I don't know. I'm wrapped for Jeff. But yeah, I'm not sure whether it actually opens the can of worms for other things. There was, I don't know whether you guys seen as well, there was articles written in the paper. I think Paul Kent wrote a full-on article about it, about, oh, this could open the can of worms and this is not good. We could have all these other results, changed over and this and that. Mate, read the article. Actually do some research, Paul Kent. The result wasn't overturned. This hasn't happened. It's a token gesture by the WBC in recognition of a great champion in Jeff to say what he won, but the result hasn't been overturned. And I was really surprised by someone of the stature of someone like a Paul Kent to write a full-on article about it, about the pitfalls of it happening with the result being overturned when it wasn't overturned. Paul Kent, do your research, mate. I would have expected someone of that stature would, or where he's a journalist, would at least do some proper due diligence. Anyway. Why aren't Tim Zhu and the Maloneys on those rankings? Very good question, James. I actually asked the same thing because Liam Paro's not there either. We'll quickly go back and have a look. So Lucas Brown's not rated at heavyweight either. I did notice that. Jai Apataya is not in the cruiserweights. Light heavyweight. I don't see Blake Caparello in there either. Now he hasn't been inactive enough to be dropped right out of the rankings. So I'm not sure what goes on there, to be honest. Whether you've they can't go by if you've got a regional belt that you're not eligible, because Zu's probably there, is he? Yeah, he's there, number 12. Yeah, I don't know. That's a good question though. Go down the rankings there. So, no one at bantamweight or super flyweight. I don't know. I will ask the question next time I see one of the representatives though, mate. James. Thanks for coming back in too, James. We have got about half a dozen people watching. That's better than nothing. That's what we had about 5 minutes ago. Paul Kent has history in rugby league and boxing. Very opinionated and controversial. I don't know anything about Paul Kent, to be honest. James, obviously from Victoria. I'm an AFL man. I know nothing about him. I will say, though, that he gets on the boxing telecast and acts like he's Max Kellerman or one of those types of guys. Not to say he knows everything, but, for someone that gets on there, and I would much rather someone that actually knows the boxing game. It's good when they've got Barry Michael and Jeff Fennick on the course, but Paul Kent, I'm not sure what he actually knows about boxing. Don't know. There's plenty of other guys out there, in my opinion, that could probably take his spot. But yeah, I just read it and thought, mate, you haven't even looked into it. You've gone off what you've seen on social media or whatever it might be. You haven't even looked into it fully to realise the result wasn't actually overturned. I'm glad it wasn't actually officially overturned, by the way, because we would have been going right back to the turn of the century to overturn every single controversial result over the journey. And I did make a point last week too with the Boxing Deep Dive show that I thought it was a little bit disrespectful. As much as I love that it happened for Jeff, Jeff's my all-time favourite fighter, but the Azuma Nelson part. Now, Azuma Nelson, every single title he held at each division was a WBC title. So he's obviously also a great as well. So as wrapped as I am for Jeff, I just thought it might have been a little bit disrespectful to Azuma to sort of say, well, mate, you lost that fight, so we're not really going to recognise you as a champion. I don't know. Enlighten me here, Shane. Kent has trained in Spa, but to my knowledge, it hasn't had a fight. Well, there you go. I'm not saying you had, like, Tassie and I have this argument, well, not an argument, but a heated discussion all the time about who's qualified to have an opinion. I think everyone's qualified to have an opinion on certain levels of things. I think I said last week, Shane, you might have been in the chat when I said, I don't think, in my opinion, someone that hasn't been in the ring should question someone's ticker or courage or heart or whatever it might be, because it's hard to get a grasp around it. But if you want to say that someone's jab's no good or the work rate's no good or the footwork's not overly good, well, of course you can have your say. But for him to be writing articles like that as if he's Mr. Boxing, I just thought, mate, he made himself look like a bit of a dick, if you ask me. Typical Paul Kent article. Thanks, James. Well, again, I don't know anything really about Paul except watching our main event. I'm not a fan of his. He's way too opinionated for someone that, like you said, there hasn't even been in the ring. So I'm sure there's plenty of other guys out there they could get on. James, I'm really glad I come back on, guys, by the way, because I'm getting the answers to a lot of these questions. Yes, James, I don't like his commentary, and in NRL he always makes a bold and bad statement for it to be a headline. He seems that type of guy, but it's great when they have Barry Michael and past greats on. Yeah, Barry Michael, He's really, really good. I really like Baz. Jeff, I really like the fact that Barry and Jeff sort of have different roles. Jeff's more the commentator as such, where Barry's more the special comments and co-host of the event. So I really like that. And I think I'm really impressed too with Harry Garside's been pretty good. And I was really actually impressed with Stevie Spark when he was on a few weeks ago on the Paro and Jarvis card. I actually thought he did really, really well, Stevie Spark. So maybe he's got a future outside that. But, I'd love to see, I know they have Jeff Horn on. Jeff's good. Probably needs a little bit more of a clean up on a few of the way he sort of speaks on there as well. But look, I think they do a really good job. But I just don't see the sense in having someone like Paul Kent on, who's a rugby league, commentator. So, James again. But it's great when they have Barry Michael. It would be great to have people like Michael Casitas or Lester Ellis commentate. Yeah, look, it just depends, James. I would love, in a romantic type of a way, to have those guys on, but it's no good if the guys haven't had any media training. As much as I love both those guys, and I haven't actually seen them do it, so I can't comment. But one thing, I'd rather than just sort of rush them in there, give them some media training, and they invest so much into these guys. And one thing, again, I know it's like with the NRL up there. I don't sort of watch it, but the AFL, they have all these past greats on, and They don't give them any media training. They just throw them straight in the deep end. And it's my pet hate. My wife will know exactly what I'm talking about here because I go about it on it all the time. Is when there's a commentator on the AFL, past great player, and he says running, kicking, marking, handballing. They invest so much time and money into these commentators. I love having the past players on, but at least give them some media training so he's saying running and kicking and handballing. It's not that hard, is it? Maybe that's what they like about him, I don't know. But I would like to see if they did the same thing with boxing and get someone like a Shannon O'Connell on or Shanika Johnson on or whatever. I know they've had Ebony Bridges on before, but she probably needs some media training as well. So, I don't know. But I think Barry Michael, as I said, speaks really well. Jeff Fenech speaks really well. But there should be more of it, I think, in some capacity. There could be expert comments from Michael or Lester. It'd be great to have them back in, especially someone like Lester. Sort of been forgotten to the sport a little bit, as probably Michael could see it is. But I'd love for them to at least do some change room interviews, just do something to get them back involved. And it might be their way of just getting these greats something to, just to keep them in the game. James, again, we've got a couple of James coming tonight. It's good. He had a charity fight about 10 to 15 years ago against Mark Geyer or another footballer. This is Paul Kent, is it? Yeah, I didn't say that one, mate. I'm not sure. Mark Geyer, I have heard of. Obviously another rugby league guy, but I don't really know much about him. So enlighten me, guys. Shane. Surprising he would knock that, as he used to be super tight with Jeff. Kent does go on about lack of power in his commentary, which is annoying. Yeah, well, mate, if you haven't been punched in the face, you can't really talk about power and what it means. But yeah, what he did say, I'm not sure if you've seen it, Shane, but he just sort of commented on he did an article saying it just could open a can of worms. He didn't really agree with it happening. But again, as I said before, if he had done his research, he would have seen that it didn't actually happen. It was just WBC were great. We're going to sanction all these fights and create all these extra belts and champions and divisions. But hey, we're just going to keep it good with the fans and give Jeff Fenech his belt. So, I don't know. Jeff Horn trying to get into media commentating. Yeah, well, I don't mind Jeff being on. I think he still needs a little bit more time. Sometimes these guys are naturals. I look at Stevie Spark, I look at Harry Garside. They are sort of naturals when it comes to this sort of thing. And I think Barry Michael is as well. But I really like Jeff Horn on a different sort of plane, but he could do this with a little bit of a clean up of the way he's pronouncing some words or the way he speaks. And it's a nothing thing, but as I said, I just think they need to invest in their products. I want to see more boxes on there, but I just want to make sure they're ready and comfortable. And because fans out there are pretty fickle. I just don't like when they're to make them targets. They get enough abuse. Shane again. Oh yeah, James, I think I remember that now. That was the fight, I'm gathering, so I wasn't quite aware of that. So I think I've got some of more of the comments there, guys. Where are we? Stevie Spark does a rematch. Yeah, that's with Montana Love, obviously. Yeah, I think it'll happen. Who asked that one? That was Zygmunt Krasinski, thanks for no, that was Spark and Paro. It was Andy. Andy's probably gone now, so I better apologise to Andy next week. Yeah, the rematch will happen. The rematch will happen. One thing I am a little bit worried about is if this week the fight gets turned into a no contest. I've got a really bad feeling in my stomach that it could be a no contest. Eddie Hearn could get involved. It's obviously he's an American fighter. It's American, organisation, whatever it was. His hometown. A lot of pressure on there. Oh, I've just got a sick feeling it could happen. I hope it doesn't, but don't be surprised if somehow it turns into a no contest and they get ordered to do a rematch. And Steve will have to go back over there. I doubt they're going to probably bring the rematch to Australia. Probably not enough money in it. I think they'll go back to the States. I think that'll worry Steve at all. I think he'll go over there and do it again. I think now he's actually been in there with Spark. With Love. I think he'll probably do it a little bit easier next time. I don't think you'll see him probably as cautious. Even though he's aggressive, I think the first couple of rounds he was a little bit, apart from the knockdown of course, he was a little bit sort of standoffish. I think next time you'll see him just go, I don't respect this guy, I'm going to take him out. And he'll go for it. Likes, comment, subscribe to the show, please. Very great boxing minds and great opinions of boxing on this show. No, thanks, James. Really appreciate that, mate. Well, as I said before, we'd like to have a diverse amount of or type of people on here. From myself, Mike Altamura, Peter Maniatis, Noonan Boy, Tassie, of course. Having Shannon on tonight, we might do a little bit more of that, I think. It's really good to have someone else on there just to field some questions. So if you want that, let me know. But again, James, really appreciate it, mate. And was that Jeff? Another one about Jeff, was it? Yeah, I like seeing Horn. Real nice fella too. Yeah, he is a really great bloke, Shane. And I'm glad they've got him involved. He's a really good guy, and yeah, good on him. And hopefully he makes a career out of it as well. As I said, just want to see him do the right thing by Mrs. Fox I'm talking about, and just get him some media training like all the guys should have. And just help him be the best commentator that he can be. Or comments guy, whatever he can be. Carl, the Hunter Hansen is back. Hey, mate, thoughts on Triple G and Michael Zarafa fight? I'm glad you asked that, mate. Now, is it going to happen or not? Because, as you've all seen, it's been verbally agreed to by Michael Zarafa, but Triple G hasn't said anything, or his team haven't said a word. And if anything, the noise coming out of the States, or wherever you might want to call it, the boxing world, overseas, it's that Triple G will probably fight Lara, or that's who they mandated, or Falcao, who's the Brazilian. So that's apparently they're the ones ahead of Michael Zarafa. So I'm not sure how Zarafa gets the fight unless Triple G gets given a voluntary. But does he really want to fight? There's probably two ways to look at it. Does he want to fight a Michael Zarafa who probably perceive or look at as an easier fight, I would think, or to go for Lara, who's a really, really tough fight for him. Falcao's also a tough fight. Does he see Zarafa as the easier option and go for that one? Or does he say, look, I can't get up for this type of fight. I'm not going to fight him. I'd rather vacate and move on. So two schools of thought. Look, I really hope Michael Zarafa gets it. Geez, wouldn't that be another cherry on top for Australian boxing to have that on top of all these other fights that are going on? I'll still believe it when I see it, but I'm not saying it won't happen. But I think at this stage, I don't think it happens. If it does happen, I will say, I actually give Zarafa a half decent chance of winning the fight. But based on what I've seen in Triple G's last two fights, I mean, if this is 2 years ago, you'd say, geez, this is going to end really badly for Michael. But Zarafa is in. I know a lot of you guys out there will strongly disagree with me, but from what I've seen, I think Zarafa is in career best form, riding the wave, and now he's got no limit behind him. I know he's got some legal issues with his previous team. I'm sure that'll work itself out, but I actually give him a half decent chance of winning against Triple G based on what I've seen. I don't know, maybe I'm crazy, but I think he gives Triple G a really, really good fight. Triple G looks so flat in his last two fights. I know he was lucky, well, not lucky, but he got out of jail a little bit against Murata, but against Canelo, he was flat as a tack. Barely got out of second gear. And I think Zarafa, if he does a Kambosos or a Horn or back in the day Harding and Fennick and these types of guys, and Stevie Spark goes over there and says, right, I'm just going to go for it and win this title. They are talking about being in Australia. I would strongly doubt that. I hope it is, but have they got the money here? I don't think Zarafa's got the profile of a Kambosos or even a Horn or these types of guys to bring it here. Triple G is going to want big money. But having said that, they got Manny Pacquiao here, did DNL. So I'm sure they can do it with Triple G. So we'll see what happens. But if it did happen, I actually give Zerafa a pretty good chance of actually beating Triple G. What do you guys think? What do we got there? James again. It would be great for DAZN to make the rematch in Australia for a big headline and hopefully get more eyes due to the bad ending and stack it with great Aussie talent again. Yeah, 100%, James. I would hope Eddie Hearn sees that as well. Obviously, he's got to have another fight lined up, doesn't he? Another show. So that's the perfect fight. Whether there's the coin to make it happen, Love's not going to want to come to Australia for peanuts. He's going to want to get well paid. Is the money here? It would have to be... I would think they'd have to almost make it a DAZN pay-per-view in Australia for it to make sense. And does Stevie Spark have that profile and Montana Love by that measure as well? Do they have the profile to make it happen? I doubt it. So I think you'll see Stevie Spark go to America again and do it probably in Cleveland again, I would think. Shane, I like that Stevie said if it makes sense financially, stick that B-side up your jump ready. Yeah, I did hear him say that, Shane. Look, I think end of the day, he's still going to have to toe the line to some extent, Shane. I know I really liked him sort of saying that, but end of the day, Eddie Hearn, Montana Love technically still the A side as far as I'm concerned. There's still that controversy, especially if it gets overturned to a no contest. Again, I hope it doesn't. But it'd be interesting to see what happens. I don't think Stevie's probably got the clout because it wasn't a definitive win. No matter how we flip it, it wasn't a legitimate win. It was a disqualification. So it's a bit of a grey area as far as who's the A and the B. But I think it's good that now Stevie Spark, at least no matter what happens, he's made the big time. He's going to have all these guys out there, all those fighters out there that never heard of him before are all going to know exactly who he is now. He's going to get some big fights. No matter what happens with this fight, he's going to have people out there that want to fight him. No doubt whatsoever. He's earned his stripes. Yep, that's the Rafa I think you're talking about. It's not on BoxRec either. No, it's 40. This is Triple G. He's 40 after all. He sorted the head splitter out pretty quickly. Yeah, he did, Carl. I was actually at that fight, and it was a complete mismatch. I thought Hardman surprisingly had a chance in that fight. But Zerafa, he was very, very good. He boxed very smart for the first round. He, as they say, checked the temperature in the first round. He boxed, he moved, he had a look at what Isaac had. And then when he sort of knew that Isaac, I know he's always got the power, but didn't really have what it took to really trouble him, that's when he stepped it up. And as soon as he got him hurt, well, obviously he dropped him with that left hook. And he's a good finisher, Michael, and he just ended it right there and then. And I think Isaac really... might be hard for him to recover from that because he's a very, I won't say ego-driven, but self-confidence is Isaac. He's had a lot of good knockout wins, but I'm sure he'll come back. But yeah, I was really impressed with Zerafa that night, and I think, as I said, I think he gives Triple G a good fight. I think Zerafa got a tough fight next, maybe an upset. You reckon? Okay, with Danilo Creative. I think it'll be a lot better fight than what people expect, James, because he actually goes right. He's very, very awkward. I'm not sure he's got the power to keep Zerafa off. I'm not sure whether, he's got the skills. But look, he's a very accomplished amateur. Obviously Italian, was on the Italian national team. So, I think he's going to give Michael a tough fight. I think Zerafa wins on points. I think it won't be a knockout. I think he's too crafty. He's creative. So I think he'll win on points in a lot tougher fight than most people expect. You're not crazy, but a fairly even Triple G versus Canelo, I'd have to say. Levels. Yeah, you're right, mate. There is levels involved. Canelo's obviously a level above maybe Michael Zerafa, of course. But just from what I've seen of Triple G, I don't know. He just looked flat. He just didn't turn up. Canelo, I will say, being at the fight, I expected Canelo. Like, Canelo wasn't flash either. He didn't really do anything spectacular. But I really would have expected Triple G to sense that and really try and jump on him and really make a fight of it early and try and take some sort of ground on Canelo. But he started really, really slowly and basically handed Canelo the first few rounds. And Canelo sort of grew in confidence as the rounds went on and Triple G faded. I'm not sure what the strategy in the corner was from Triple G. I would have been telling him to start fast. Start real fast. Go out there, let's win 3 of the first 4 or whatever it might be, and let's set a statement. Put it in place. And then see what happens after that. Because Canelo, I don't think he could believe his luck. Triple G just didn't come to fight. He was trying to box Canelo, if you can believe that, when he had the success in those first 2 fights by taking center ring and taking it off Canelo. So the advice he got in the corner, in my opinion, was really, really bad. I thought it was not to Triple G's his natural style and what's got him where he got to. Triple G is not a boxer. He can box, but he's not a boxer. And Canelo, as I said, I don't think you can believe his luck that Triple G tried to box him. He just took the rounds and off he went. Carl, hey, also true, the WBC have sanctioned Wilder and Ruiz. Who have you got in that one? Can you see Wilder and Fury 4? Sadly enough, Carl, I can see Fury Wilder 4. I hope I'm wrong. Entertaining anyway, aren't they, all the fights? But surely we've moved on. Yeah, well, the Wilder Ruiz one now, obviously, these fights the WBC have ordered, there was a few of them. I'd probably be surprised if only 1 or 2 of them actually take place. The Ruiz thing's an interesting one because the Usyk and Hrgovic fight. Now, if that takes place, if Usyk decides to give up his IBF belt rather than fighting him, which I would not be surprised, apparently Ruiz is the number 2. So he has then got the option of fighting for the IBF title, the vacant title. So, and Wilder's obviously on the WBC side. So I wouldn't be surprised if it still doesn't happen. Ruiz would fight maybe Joshua again, maybe. Or maybe Joshua fights Wilder for the WBC belt. Who knows? But it does, strangely enough, who knows? It could be Joshua Ruiz 3 for the IBF belt. And it could be Fury Wilder 4 for the WBC belt. I don't know. Let's hope it gets cleaned up. Yeah, Andy, I'm back, mate. I apologise. I did get off and then realised that I thought I waited long enough and got off and I had about 10 or 12 comments on there that I hadn't responded to. So I'm back. I'm back, mate. So, and I'm glad I am back because the other part, I wasn't even back on for an hour and I'm always up for 2 hours, guys. So I'm glad to be back. SLW is stacked to super lightweight, I'm gathering. Yeah, how good's that? That's a great division. Now, there is talk that Rolly Romero is going to get a rematch with Tank if the Garcia fight doesn't come off. That's rumours. Obviously, now you've got Teofimo Lopez up there as well. Of course, Liam Paro and Cattrall and Taylor and all these different guys. So, yeah. So, mate, there's so much going on at the moment. Lightweight, obviously, as well. So, it's just a great time to be a boxing fan. Yes, Mick is a red-hot finisher. Yep. And look, I hope he gets the fight too, Shane. Look, and I've been pretty vocal about this. I'm not saying I'm a massive Michael Zarafa fan, but the guy, it's okay to have your say about the Tim Tszyu thing and some of the stuff that comes out of his mouth. I must admit, I don't necessarily agree with. But I don't think he deserves the vitriol that he gets on social media. And I've said this a couple of times. The fact that people are saying he was scared of Tim Tszyu, I'll say it again. He was not scared of Tim Tszyu. Michael Zarafa was not scared of Tim Tszyu. I think you'd even hear Tim Tszyu say the same thing. These are elite fighters. These are world-class fighters. Fighters aren't scared of other fighters. They're just not. For business reasons, they might not fight each other, but they're not scared. It happens for reasons. And Michael said himself that he got bad advice. He severed ties with his teams. Now that's going to play out in the court by the looks of things. But I just think he had really, really bad advice. And I think he will regret it for the rest of his life because I don't think Tim will give him another shot unless it really, really makes sense for Team Tszyu. Not for Zarafa, not even for Australian boxing. They'll fight him if it makes sense for them. And quite rightly so. But look, I think he's got a lot to offer. Is he at that really world elite level? I don't think so. But geez, give the guy a go. Give him his Triple G fight. And you just never know what can happen. So I just got this thing falling off my computer there. Carl, again, I tell you what, mate, I rate Ben Horn pretty highly as a boxer. He's got some heart, that guy. Yeah, Carl, mate, look, what I will say is I really admire Ben Horn, but I've got to be honest, it's not because of his boxing abilities. Because, one, he'll fight anywhere, anytime. And he's got ticker, he's got heart, he's got courage, he's got a bit of flair about him. I like it. He makes all these fighters look bad. He fights anyone, and that's what I really respect about him. For pure boxing ability, I think Ben would probably be the first one to tell you that he hasn't exactly been graced with silky skills. But look, what he did against Nikita, that was just unbelievable. To be in that final round and having Nikita on the go in the last 10 or 15 seconds, I mean, that was just great stuff. And I've said it a few times that I think Team Tszyu or Nikita's team would would have got so much out of that fight with Ben Horn. You know, he had to dig deep, did Nikita. I think he might have read the press and said he was going to finish Ben Horn early, but I think he learned a lot out of that fight, and I think he's going to be a lot better fighter because of it, and he actually showed that against Darkin in the next fight that he's learnt. So, mate, I respect Ben Horn so much. He's 4-6, I think, now, but I think he's going to get plenty of fights as well because people love to see him, and you know, he's a good fight to have in the way up. I'd love to see him fight maybe a Benjamin Bomber. You know, one of these types of guys. There's plenty of guys out there for him. So let's see what happens there. What do we got there? Jay, thanks for joining in, Jay. I'll get my comments back there. Stevie Spark is now number 1 super light on BoxRec, I'm assuming it is. Do you agree? No, I don't think so. No, just clarify which one you're talking about there, Jay. I'm assuming it's BoxRec. No, he's nowhere. Liam Paro's number 1 140 pounder at even just national level, and then international level is probably there's like, look, you got to remember, great performance by Stevie. He's gained a lot of fans, not just Australia but around the world. But he still won the fight by disqualification. Now, it was only the 6th round. We weren't even halfway through the fight, so we don't really know what was going to happen. I got no doubt that I think he would have went on and won the fight. But to base him as number 1, based on yesterday's result, I think it's jumping ahead too much. And as I said, even just on national level, it's Liam Paro all day, every day for me. And I think you could even throw in a Darragh Foley. Let's have a quick look at super lightweight again. I think... Darragh Foley, you could even make a case for Darragh Foley. I think Stevie Spark beats Darragh Foley, by the way. But based on records, who knows? Yesterday's win probably puts him over the top. But I think a fight I'd love to actually see too, I said before too, the super lightweights. Kane Clark's another one that's a bit of a sleeper. I'd love to see him fight a Stevie Spark or a Darragh Foley. Who else is there? John Manu's another real good young talent that you should be keeping an eye on. And maybe we might get... Kane Clark and John Manu, but keep an eye out for John Manu. He beat a 12-0 American on the Kambosos Haney undercard, and he just got back from Canada as well after winning over there. So, so keep a look out. So many great fights out there. Andy again, good stay busy fight for Zerafa before Mando shot Triple G. Yes, mate, I have absolutely no problem at all whatsoever with Zerafa fighting this Creati on the card. No dramas. He still doesn't know when the fight, or if the fight with Triple G is going to happen, or whether it's going to be with Fakeo, or it's going to be with Lara. You just don't know who he's going to fight. So he hasn't fought since, when was it? Was it April? I think he fought. So give the guy an opportunity. I got no dramas. If these guys, champions, and they have these in-between fights and that all the time. And I know it's because it's Michael Zerafa. They're gonna pot him, but... Look, no drama whatsoever. If anything, it's a risky fight for him. Creati is a very, very awkward guy. So, yeah, but I think Zerafa, as I said, gets a win, but I have no problem at all him taking the fight at all. James again. Hey, Lyndon, I have Stevie Spark jumping inside top 10 Aussie pound for pound. That's a good one, James. Yeah, I'm not going to argue with that. No, even though it was the disqualification win, I think by what I saw yesterday, I'd probably have him ahead of Dempsey McKeon and Canelo next. Yeah, I don't think they will, though, Carl. I think if Plant wins, there's no way Canelo's fighting Plant again. He's at the stage of his career where he doesn't go backwards. He beat Plant very, very comprehensively. I just don't think it makes sense at all. I don't think people would yawn. And I think Canelo, he's big on his legacy. I think people would really have a crack at him. Mexican fighters don't like having fan backlash, so... I don't think that fight happens. Benavidez, I still don't maybe think that one happens. I think, again, at this stage of his career, that Benavidez is just too dangerous for Canelo. I just really think, Canelo's paid his dues. I don't necessarily agree with it, but I can understand it, like the Mayweathers and all those of the world. They've earned the right to pick and choose when and where they fight the opponents and all the terms. Canelo's in that spot now. We all want him to see him fight Benavidez, but if he doesn't, there's got to be good reason. I'm not sure whether if I was him, I'd be wanting to fight Benavidez either. I'd love to see it as a fan, but if I was part of his management team, I'm not sure whether that's a smart fight for him. I think he's all wrong for him. Thanks, Jay. It was BoxRec. All right, cool, mate. I haven't checked that, but I will. James, yes, Carl, the WBC announced the Plant Benavidez winner gets Canelo. Okay, all right. Well, I don't know. If it's the WBC and it's Canelo, I can guarantee you Canelo being the franchise champion, the WBC aren't going to want to let Canelo give up his title. If Canelo doesn't want to fight Benavidez and he wants to vacate, WBC don't want that. It's too much at stake. The WBC want fighters like Canelo to hold their belt. Big sanctioning fees as well, obviously, but the WBC, especially being a Mexican organisation, they don't want the golden goose, Canelo to leave. If Canelo doesn't want to fight the winner of that, it's not going to happen. It's just not. The WBC will find a way to invoke that franchise rule, and it won't happen. Andy again, thoughts on Janibek WBO middleweight champ defence yesterday? I didn't see it, sorry mate. I watched the DAZN card with Stevie Spark, and I just had a fair bit of other stuff to do. I'll probably watch it, or the highlights of it, before our show on Wednesday night, or Thursday night, whatever it's going to be. Wednesday night it is, to make a bit more of a comment. But I did read about it, but I won't pass a comment on it, mate, until I actually see the fight. And Carl saw it. Obviously, Janibek needs to put his opponents to sleep. Not the most exciting fan, is he? But he does what he has to do, doesn't he? So that's all you can do. James, they got Spark number 14, Paro 26 in the world. I'd be careful of box rate ratings. I don't rate the box rate rankings, guys. It's all done on what do you call it? The algorithms and all that sort of stuff. All you got to do is look at the pound for pound Aussie fighters. I think Marcus Raff is number 4. Above George Kambosos. That's just not the case. I'm sorry. That just was all it for me. Actually, I'm not sure whether I can bring it up. How do you do that, guys? I'm not quite sure. Hang on. Ratings. See if I can bring it up here. Let's see if I can do it. I haven't done this before, guys. So is that pound for pound? Yeah. Let's have a look. Australia. Okay. I think I'm doing it right here, am I? Is this Australia's rankings? Oh, okay. Yep, there you go. Oh, holy shit. He's jumped to number 4. All right, let's go through it quickly. George Kambosos 1, Jai Patai 2, Tim Tszyu 3, Stevie Spark 4, Marcus Rafa 5. Well, I can probably stop right there, guys. That's bullshit. I'm sorry. That is just not right. Ahead of Jason Maloney, even Liam Wilson, above Liam Paro and Andrew Maloney. Guys, I'm sorry. Billy Dibb at number 10. Hey, all the best to Billy, by the way, in his health battles. He's not the 10th best Aussie fighter at this stage either, pound for pound. Am I missing something here? Justice Honey, Ben Mahoney, Sam Goodman. I just think well, there you go. Cesar Mattia, 18. Paul Fleming, 19. That's how much I know. Dempsey McKean at 25. So, I'm sorry, guys. I just don't see them as being anywhere near it. Oh, hang on. We've got some more comments going there. Sorry, guys. I'll keep going. Yeah, so what do you guys think? I'm going to keep that up there as I keep the comments going. Carl, that's a joke. Usyk dog walks. Usyk dog walks. He was given a gift against Big Bang. Yeah, I don't think that fight's going to happen, Carl. I think Usyk, he wants big fights at his stage of his career. He's going to want Wilder or Fury, I would think. Or worst case of Ruiz, he's not going to want to fight Grovic. That's not going to happen. And Eddie's taking great pleasure, Eddie Hearn I'm talking about, in saying we're not stepping aside. We want our shot. We're not going to take the step aside money. So I've got a feeling the IBF will vacate, or Usyk will vacate the IBF, and they'll just walk. I'm thinking Canelo, most likely Mando. Next is Ryder Parker. The winner since WBO was first belt collected. Yeah, I'm thinking that too, Andy. I think especially if Ryder wins, that fight will happen. Canelo wants to fight in England. I think Eddie Hearn wants to take him to England. So if Ryder wins that, my money is Canelo Ryder next. So I'm with you, mate. So that's a good point. So the Parker, I'm not sure whether he fights Parker, but definitely Ryder. I think that makes a lot of sense for Canelo. James again. Thanks for the comments, guys. Thanks for staying on, by the way, after I prematurely shot out of here. Excuse the pun. James Gorman, I think on boxing IQ and ability, Paro is better, but you can never count Spark out. He's such a dedicated and disciplined fighter, always fighting his hater. Yeah, mate, I agree. I just think Paro is too slick for the Stevie. It's just my opinion. Look, I'd love to see it. I don't think Paro stands in front of Spark. I think although I did say that against Jarvis and he stood there and knocked him out, but I just think that Paro's got such sublime skills. I just don't think Spark's polished enough at this stage to take it up to Paro. I think Paro wins that by decision. I think wins quite comfortably. But, it'll be a great fight. That is the Aussie fight to make. Carl again. Paro went number 2 in the WBO. Now, that's a good point. Now, he was number 1. So how does that work? Teofimo Lopez goes up, has that 1 win and goes above Paro. I don't know how you've got a fighter that's keeping winning can have someone go past them that's only had 1 fight at the weight. Again, sanctioning bodies, whatever they do, there's different rules for everybody. And I think that's why I took the Jarvis fight in the end, to be honest. Carl again, why would the WBC give Jeff Fenech a belt and the decision stays the same? Why bother turning up to collect that rubbish? Yeah, well, I think, well, as I said, hang on, the belt is not the belt. So it's not the WBC super featherweight belt. It is a WBC belt, as I said at the start, that they did for Ruben Hurricane Carter back in the day. They gave him the WBC middleweight belt. It was just a belt. It's a token belt, like they do with all these other belts they give out. But it's a token WBC belt to say we think you won, but the decision is not going to be overruled. It's just not, because the sanctioning bodies can't do that. Only the combat boards or whatever they are in each country or state, whatever it is, only they can do it. And they're not going to overturn a result from 31 years ago. It's just not going to happen. Why bother turning up? Well, again, mate, look, it was at the WBC convention, so maybe Jeff goes every year, maybe, and they decided to do it for him while he was there. Maybe there was a lot of other things going on, and they decided to do it. I'm sure he had a heads up because a lot of Aussies went over there for it. But, yeah, I'm with you, mate. Look, I feel rapt that it's a statement for Jeff, and I'm sure he appreciates it, but deep down, he would know he's not officially the WBC super featherweight champion, even though he should be. But yeah, I'm with you. Why bother? Look, I just think again he would have been there. I'm assuming because he goes every year, and they've just decided to do it for him. But yeah, anyway. But it's again to clarify, the result has not been overturned, and just to prove that, I'm gonna I might see if I can bring it up here. Let's have a look. Let's go to BoxRec again. Just to prove the point here. Where is he? Jeff Fenech. Let's have a look. Sorry, my mouse is playing up. If I can get this going. There we go. I'll just take your comment down there, mate. I've just got to do this sometimes to get it back going. So you can see there, the draw still stands. There it is right there. The draw still stands. It will not be overturned. There it is, 29-3-1. The result will not be overturned. WBC might recognise it, but that doesn't mean shit. That's no different to, maybe the IBF will come out and do one of theirs, and the WBA will do one of theirs. It doesn't mean anything. So, I don't think it'd be some sort of, what do you call it? Some sort of, good for Jeff, but at the end of the day, he knows he's not the champion, unfortunately, even though he deserves to be. Andy again, thanks mate. What do we got? Would absolutely love to see Paro and Spark both win belts, fight for unification. Yeah, I would too, mate. I think that's the way it's going to go. I think both of them are on separate tracks. And I haven't really got a drama with that at the moment. They're both good enough to win world titles, especially Paro. Spark depends on probably who he fights. And I probably want to see, as good as it was sort of yesterday for 5 and a bit rounds, I'd love to see the rematch with Love, just to get a really good indication of whether Stevie is at the level or he just caught Love by surprise. I think he's good enough to beat Love on his merits, but I just want to see that play back again or run back again, however you want to say it, and get the definitive win over Love, and then we can probably rate Spark. Pretty hard to rate him on 5 rounds, and it was disqualification. That's, again, just my opinion. But yeah, how good, either way, how good a fight would that be? It would be awesome. Paro versus Lopez will be my pick for Liam's next fight. Yeah, it could be, mate. I know Lopez, there was talk of him fighting, I can't remember who, there was someone they were talking about the other day. Could be. I think if Taylor vacates, if he wins the fight with Catrol and then vacates, Paro Lopez just makes sense for the WBO belt. Makes 100% sense, and that would be the one. And maybe, depending on what happens with Stevie Sparks' fight with rematch with Love, maybe that could be a defence in Australia on a big Matchroom DAZN card. That would be awesome. But time will tell. Give Teofimo some more mental struggles. Yeah, last thing he's gonna want to do is come up against another Aussie. At least Liam's not a big talker in his face like George was, but I'm sure he'd have some PTSD anyway. Stevie beats Dara. Liam beats Stevie. Just my thoughts. Yep, probably my thoughts as well. Shane. Carl, you got your mate, the face of boxing chooses. Yes, they do. Don't waste your time watching the Janabek fight. Okay, thanks, mate. I might just watch the highlights. I like to have sort of some sort of knowledge of what I'm talking about when we do the shows, to at least send the highlights of the fight that I might have missed. There were a few yesterday. I can't remember the fight that I saw. It was early on. It's got the best of me now. I'm going to have to type in. What was the name of... I'll put in Steve Spark because the card will come up. And I can go to his... excuse me there, guys. I'm going to go to the card. Where is it? The event. What fight was it? The Hitchens fight was okay, I suppose. There it is. Christian Tapia and Thomas Matisse. That was a really, really good fight. The girls are good as well. What one was that one? There it is. Beatrice Ferreira and Tayana Cardosa. Interesting to see the scores too. Oh, did you see the scores too, guys, on Love and Spark? They haven't got them up there. 47-47 times 2 and 48-46 for Montana Love. But the good news is, when he got cut, if he had got his wish and the doctor stopped the fight, it would have been a technical draw. It would have been a mandatory draw, sorry, because 2 had it even. So, where's the killer, Lucas Brown? Yeah, I'm with you, mate. Justice Hoodie number 13, yep. Mohammed Zayden, thanks, mate. Best show, keep it up, legend. I'll do my best, mate. We need a few more viewers, though, but it's good. We're climbing all the time, which is great. Again, appreciate you guys coming on. And at some stage, guys, make sure you come on the show. It makes it a hell of a lot better. The links, I won't put it up now, probably a bit late, but next week I'll put it up. If you want to come on. Let's talk some boxing rather than just by the text. Janabek was dubbed the new middleweight boogeyman. Denzel Bentley either better than expected or Janabek had a bad night. Either way, Andrade looked kind of foolish. Yeah, because that was supposed to happen, wasn't it? I'm not a big fan of Andrade, I will say. Weird point system with box out ratings. Transnational, more realistic. Yeah, everyone has their own ways of rating things, but I'll bring up the top 10 again. How could you have, even based on yesterday, we're all wrapped for him, but how could Stevie Spark be number 4 pound for pound in Australia above Jason Maloney, Liam Paro, Andrew Maloney, even, there's actually Lucas Brown there, number 11. Sorry, yep, there he is. But I'd even have Liam Wilson probably on a par. No, sorry, Stevie Spark would be above him now because the quality of opposition, but he's definitely not above. So Rafa, Jay Maloney, A. Maloney, Liam Paro, who else is there? Yeah, so, and even Paul Fleming, maybe just on a par with him. I don't know. We go about it all day, guys, but we're all going to have our own way of doing the ratings. I saw Paro put up a pre-fight post for Team Love. There'll be some smoke there. I'd say, 100%. Both Queensland boys. There would definitely be some smoke there for sure. Yeah, and there's probably going to be a bit more of that going now because, I haven't really seen Paro sort of say a lot on social media. I think he's just a really nice guy. I've met him a couple of times, and seems to be a really nice guy. Both times I've met him have been in Vegas, surprisingly enough. Never seen him in Australia. Really nice guy, but yeah, now that Spark has sort of entered that arena of the international stage, I've got a feeling you might see a little bit of friction there, and there might be a few snipes at each other over the journey, and at some stage you're going to see them up against each other. Hey mate, excuse my ignorance, but you give us a rundown on your history and path you've taken in boxing. Oh geez, all right mate. I don't want to be here all night, but a quick rundown. I've been involved in boxing since I've been 10 years old. Represented Australia at the Olympics in '96, the Commonwealth Games in '98. Won a bronze medal there. World Championships in '93, '97. Australian titles, all that sort of stuff. Been a promoter, a manager, a trainer. Sort of got my hand in everything there, Carl. But my boxing background is, obviously my big thing is the Olympics and Commonwealth Games. '96 it was too. Floyd Mayweather, Antonio Tarver, Fernando Vargas, David Reed. It was a pretty big, pretty good stable of fighters for the US that year. So it was good to be part of it. As I said, won a bronze at the Commonwealth Games in Kuala Lumpur in '98. I won't bore you with the details there, but let's just say I lost to the gold medalist in the semis. Something that's sort of eaten at me over the years, I can tell you, but it is what it is. And yeah, retired when I just turned 25 and got into business and got married, and always obviously still been involved in boxing, but that was my sort of career. I promoted about 20 shows, including the Maloneys, Shannon O'Connell, Jade Mitchell, Zarafa. So I've promoted a fair few of the guys, and I was also co-promoter of Horn and Zarafa in Bendigo back in 2019. So I hope that it's a little bit of my path there, mate. So been involved quite some time. Hey mate, I spoke with David Benavides on a panel 3 days ago. Okay, he said he wants the Canelo fight really bad. I think he may be overlooking Caleb big time. Yeah, maybe, Carl. Yeah, he probably is, but that's what these guys do, I suppose. They've got to have the eye on the prize. Look, I think Benavides beats Caleb Plant, but I wouldn't sleep on Plant. But even though he knocked out Durrell in his last fight, I still think Caleb Plant struggles with David Benavides. I really do. I think Benavides too big, strong. So yeah, that's just my opinion. Good on you, mate. Damn cool achievements. Yep, I love your content. I'll be knowing the shit out of you every Monday night. Hey mate, come on anytime. That's why I like to come on and talk the boxing, because I just look. The thing is, one thing you'll always, well, Tassie probably gets it across better than anyone with the way he goes about. But my thing is, I wouldn't have a YouTube show if I wasn't confident in my knowledge and history, and that's why I bring on guys like even Tassie, but definitely a Mike Altamura, because if I don't know anything, I like to bring on people that do, and that way you guys are getting a very informative show, some feedback, not just guys that are up there that think we know what's going on. We like to think that we have a really good handle on the boxing world. We've been around a lot. As I've been involved for, what am I, 49 now, so 39 years in boxing, and started it like like nothing when I was younger. Kids were reading the books at school. I was reading boxing magazines. That's just the way it was. And Tassie's the same. And Mike Altamura, you won't find anyone that knows more about boxing than him. Peter Maniatis, another one. Nick Noonanboy, Noonan's another one. So I try and have people on the show that know the stuff, not just people that as I said, think they know and have an opinion. So just rest assured that the comments that we're saying is coming from a good source, not just guessing, I suppose. And if you haven't watched the classic fights or dream fights with Mike Altamura, make sure you get. I know I pump him up all the time, but what he doesn't know about boxing is not worth knowing. Hey, this is can we get the WBC to overturn your bronze? But hey, that's hey, you never know, Jay. Look, it's a long story what happened at the Commonwealth Games. Let's just say I didn't win for whatever reason. I lost in the semis, got my bronze medal, and it did hurt a lot seeing the guy I fought in the semis. It was a Canadian, good fighter by the way. He went on to win the gold medal against a fighter who, let's just say, I don't think was pretty much at the level. I think the side that we were on were all the same. There was the Canadian, myself, Irish, I think Scottish, English, all on the one side, South African, all on the one side of the draw, and on the other side of the draw was a few of the probably the non-elite type of countries. He beat all the guys on his side, so that's all he can do. But it did hurt a lot watching him win the final very, very easily when I'm sitting in the stands. But anyway, there's lots of hard luck stories in boxing, and that's just the way it goes. At the end of the day, I only have myself to blame. But yes, go back on that. Yes, maybe I will go to the AIBA, or it's called something different these days, and plead my case. Maybe point system, give current belt holders more points. There's got to be a better way, Andy, to do it. And I've said this a lot, not necessarily BoxRec. BoxRec's just, again, it's a website at the end of the day. It has no really recognition. There's no real BoxRec belt or anything, is there? Not like the Ring magazine and that sort of stuff that tends to get the ratings right. BoxRec, it's all computer-based, figures-based, algorithm-based. So that's what they do. So that's why I don't rate it. But as far as the sanctioning bodies go, I just think it'd be great to have some sort of universal system of scoring, of giving fighters rankings points. So they're all in the organisations of all the sanctioning bodies, not just one or two. And I've said a million times in the past, how can you be rated one by, say, the WBC and not be in the top 20 of the WBA or IBF or WBO? It just doesn't make sense. Anyway. 1 or 2 fights from a title shot. Liam doesn't take a fight with Stevie. I reckon Stevie calls him out anyway. Matchroom makes an offer for the next Oscar. Yeah, mate, that would surprise me, Shane. I'm with you. I don't think there's any way Liam fights Stevie Spark before fighting for the world title. If he wins it, I think you'll find Eddie Hearn moves heaven and earth to get that fight with Stevie Spark in Australia on a massive card. You've got to remember, it's one thing to say we're coming into Australia and we're going to do this and we're going to do that. You've got to have content. That's why I was surprised at the O'Connell-Bridges fight, why they didn't put that fight in Australia. They obviously put Jarvis and Paro here, but that fight there, the next one could be Dempsey McKean, Lucas Brown, could be another big one as well. So there's plenty of options for Eddie Hearn, but he needs to not just put on the A-side fighters against whoever, he needs to have quality fights, and that's why that fight makes sense in about 12 months' time, if you ask me. Andy, I had to miss the first Mike Altamura hour. At least Carl and Outlaw came through. Yeah, Mike wasn't on this, my mate. It was Shannon O'Connell on this one. But it's worth watching Andy. She was great. I said she'd only be on for about half an hour, but she was on for nearly an hour, so thanks to Shannon. Did it under duress too, with a little fella running them up. It was a great stream. These two guys. Oh, thanks, Carl. Really appreciate that, mate. I think activity needs to count, and the sanctioning bodies need to uphold mandates and make fighters fight or drop the belt. Mate, in a perfect world, that'd be great. But we've seen time and time again, it just doesn't matter. Well, Jamal Charlo, he hasn't fought for, 12, 18 months, whatever it is. I've heard no mention of him being stripped of his titles or title. Canelo's, as I said before, he's a different category, so we can't go there. Jaime Munguia is another one. When's the last time he defended his title? Probably have to go in there and have a look. Can't remember the last time he fought. So it seems to be a special rule for these elite fighters, and it just doesn't make sense. Eddie's thinking with the wrong head when it comes to Ebony. Oh, yeah, well, he's got to probably watch where he looks at the weigh-ins, doesn't he? But look, I think I really like Eddie, but I think sometimes you got to. I said before to Shannon, like, I really like Eddie, but I just don't like the fact it's always got to be about him, and he's got to jump in front of every microphone and be in every photo, and just step out and let the guys have a little bit of the limelight. Especially, as I said to Shannon, I think earlier, at the when they do these press conferences, the press don't actually ask a question. Eddie Hearn asks the questions and really runs the press conference. So that's not a press conference. I might as well just do it on social media and everyone just Skypes in. What do we got here? Boo Boo, Andrade, Jamal Charlo. Charlo for me, Carl. I think Jamal gets the job. It would be a good fight. I think Charlo's just got a bit too much power for Andrade. That's just my opinion. Thanks, Carl. So, but yeah, look at those rankings again there, guys. That's why I don't rate the BoxRec rankings. There you go. I like the idea of Eddie getting us big fights. Well, at the end of the day, Carl, he has to. Because whether he likes it or not, he probably thinks he's the big dog around the world, and he probably is. But what you got to look at is that No Limit are here, DNL are here, and they want to be top dog. They don't want Eddie Hearn coming in and taking or cutting the lunch or whatever you might want to call it. Especially No Limit. No Limit have worked really hard for the last 3 years, whatever it has been, to get the best fighters on their roster. Well, that's arguably, I suppose you can say, but when you've got Tim Tszyu and Nikita and Shannon with the girls, you could probably say they've got the best roster. But DNL have got a really good roster as well. Obviously, Huni, Pataya, Isaac Harbin, they've got a lot over there as well. But those organisations don't want Eddie Hearn coming in, so he's going to have to put these big fights on, whether he likes it or not, or else at some stage he's going to go, you know what, this is way too hard, I'm out of here. That's what will happen. Eddie will just pull the pin. So he needs these big fights, and there's plenty of options, as I said before. McKeon and Brown's a really good one, and Paro Spark at some stage. You could have had Shannon and Ebony, but chose not to. Maybe it was because with the time frames and the sanctioning bodies wanting by a certain date, maybe that's why, and you couldn't squeeze them onto the Jarvis Paro card. Who knows? But true. The guy's a complete flog. Well, that's a nice way to put it. Jaime Munguia seems to be waiting on Triple G retirement for vacant belt. Yeah, I really rate Munguia. I hope that's not the case. I would love to see him fight some of these other really good guys. Charlo, Zarafa even, obviously Triple G, Lara. There's heaps of guys he could fight. He just seems to be taking those easy fights for me at the moment. He spoke of a Tim Tszyu Canelo fight at the Gabba. Carl, just put that aside, mate. That ain't happening. Well, geez, well, actually, stranger things have happened. I shouldn't say that. The Canelo fight's a super middleweight. Tim, I know he's talking about actually going up to the heavyweight at some stage. I don't think that's going to happen. But, yeah, look, I don't know. It would be great. But I think by the time Tim gets to that stage where maybe he wants to go up to super middleweight, I just don't think Canelo is going to still be around or wants that fight. I don't know. I hope I'm wrong. But at the Gabba, I don't know. If you're going to do it, Eddie, in Australia, do it at the MCG, mate. That's, well, not the MCG, not outside. Marvel Stadium, Rod Laver, wherever you want to put it. Heaps of good arenas in Melbourne. And Rowan, did you see how Eddie carried on a bit after the decision yesterday? Left me with a bad taste, to be honest. I didn't think it was fair on Sparks' behalf. Colours showed who he really wanted to win. Yeah, mate, 100% I agree with you, especially when he looked like a dick when he was getting photos with Eddie, with Stevie Sparks with a finger up, with a big smile on his face. Stevie Sparks handled himself so well. I will give Eddie a little bit of credit, though. He did say, hey, good on Stevie Sparks, and credit to him for getting knocked out of the ring and then getting back in. He could have easily rolled around on the ground and said he had an injured back or neck or whatever, and he didn't. He went straight back in there, so that was good of him. But there was absolutely no question on who Eddie's fighter was. Put it that way. Geez, Canelo a bit big for Tim Tszyu. Yeah, I think so, mate. I just don't think the fight happens. I would love it to happen, and maybe it will, but that's a big jump. Tim fights at 154. To jump up 14 pounds and have Canelo coming down from probably 180. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's a big ask. I mean, Tim's got a lot more or bigger things on his plate at the moment. He's got Jermell Charlo waiting there. Who's going to be a very, very tough fight. So, yeah, I think he's got bigger things to worry about at the moment. Yeah, mate, I don't like No Limit fighting retired rugby league boot heads fighting. I've said this again, Carl. I think they've got enough brownie points and enough leverage and whatever you want to call it to get rid of the footy fights. They've got a strong enough brand now, strong enough roster, strong enough reputation, strong enough bank account. They don't need the footy fights anymore. I know, actually, I think Shannon made a good point when I spoke to her at one stage. She said, look, she went to might have been the D&L fights at Nissan Arena. Really struggled to get a crowd there for Justice, but when the rugby guys were there a couple of months earlier, whatever it was, the joint was packed, the atmosphere was great. So, I don't know. But if they're going to go for a pay-per-view event rather than a stadium event, we'll just put them in small venues, pack it out so it's great atmosphere, and just go pay-per-view. More money on pay-per-views anyway. Oh, yep, Tara. Yes, I did, Tara. I did an About Me show on this channel if you're interested. Yeah, it's on there. It's on YouTube, guys. I did a show a little bit about me. I had a few guys ask, so I did a quick video on that. It's on here on YouTube. Check it out. Yeah, it was just a little bit about my history if you want a little bit more information. Tim needs to get on the snack. What I'm not sure. I'm assuming that means to bulk up, Carl. Hey, mate, Chocolate Estrada, who you got? Yes, I can't wait for that fight, Carl. I think... no, I'm not going to say that. I did think Chocolatito won the last fight, I will say. I'm going to go for Estrada for no other reason except gut feel. As I said, I thought Chocolatito won the last fight they had. They obviously won the first fight. Just a hunch, a gut feeling. I'm going to go for Estrada to win the third fight, but with no confidence. And you got Chocolatito as well. Chocolatito, I mean. But props to Estrada if he proves me wrong. Yeah, I just can't wait for the fight. There hasn't been really a lot said about it. It's on DAZN on December the 3rd, which is the 4th over here. So I think that's right, guys. Correct me if I'm wrong. No, I won't look it up there. Yeah, no, looking forward to it. That's probably the last big fight of the year, apart obviously from Shannon and Ebony. And then, of course, right into in January, Tim and Jermell Charlo. How good's that going to be? Is any of you guys going over there? I did speak to Glenn Jennings about it. I think they are setting up camp at the end of December in Vegas. But if you're going, I wouldn't go over too early because I don't think there'll be much access to Tim. I wouldn't have thought up until fight week when all our news outlets get there. You think channel 7, 9 and 10, maybe 10 won't, but 7 and 9 will definitely be there. Obviously all the social media channels will be there on Fight Week. But yeah, I was going to get over there a little bit earlier, but I don't think I'm going to go too earlier now, because I think Tim, he'll just want to be left alone, and quite rightly so. So I might just get there on the Saturday before, I think. And if you want to go, let me know, because there's heaps of Aussies going. So if you're a bit hesitant about going by yourself, don't be scared. Go over there, because I'll be there. Tassie will be there. Heaps of Uncle Ronnie Picken will be there. We'll all be there. Of course, all the Team Zoo crew will be there. And doesn't matter whether you're going by yourself. Don't stress, because there'll be hundreds of Aussies there. They'll probably all congregate at all the bars and pubs and all that sort of stuff. It'll be a great atmosphere. And happy to show anyone that wants to come over the ropes if you want to meet us over there. So it's all good. Rowan, I like your idea of No Limit doing a numbered events like the UFC. Thanks, Rowan. Yeah, mate, I stand by that. If you didn't hear the comments, I'd said that No Limit should do. They've obviously got, I think it's 4 pay-per-views per year. Do the numbered system like the UFC, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever it might be, and just stack the card with really good fights. Build the next promotion with that one. Example, this winner will fight that winner as the main event on the next show, and really keep the momentum going. So we're always looking at 1, if not 2 shows ahead all the time. And the young guys and girls coming through have got something to aim for. There might be the prelim fights as well, so they're on the main card, and they work their way up to that main card like the UFC do. I know a lot of boxing fans don't like to admit that UFC get a lot right. I'm not a UFC guy, by the way. I'm not a fan of it at all. But the way they do it is so much better than boxing as far as these types of things go. So why not take a leaf out of the book and No Limit? They've been such great forerunners in everything they've done. Do it. Do the numbered pay-per-view events and get these good guys, get the young guys coming up and girls, and putting them on whatever card it might be, and they know where they're at, and the fans know where they're at, and they look forward to every 3 months is going to be a big pay-per-view card, and who's going to be on it, and who's going to fight who, and geez, we better watch this pay-per-view, because this fight, the winners of this fight is going to fight the winner of that fight, and how cool is that going to be, all the rest of it. So that's just my way of thinking anyway. BLK Prime are taking over as the biggest promotion company on the planet. Is that right? Okay. Or so they think. What's your thoughts on them? Bud versus Avanasian is a bit of a joke. Yeah, it is. And I did see a comment today, and I agree with it. Someone said that they blame, with the Crawford Bud situation, they put 90% of the blame on PBC and Spence, and I'll probably agree with that. But when it comes to this fight with Avanasian, that's 100% on Bud. He could have easily taken his mandatory or whatever it might have been. The fight is a joke. He could have really saved face and really got more people behind him if he had taken on. I know Thurman's going to fight Spence now, but it's probably might be a Boots Ennis, or I know it's a risky fight, but something along those lines to keep people in the good graces of him and the fighting Avanasian. It's a waste. It really is. Hate UFC, but yep, they are genius. They do it so well. And yep, all the controversy over the paying the fighters, all that sort of stuff, all that aside, they just do it so well. The whole thing. They have their own channel. They have their own development camps. Their own, they have their own headquarters. I mean, it's the way they do it's just awesome. I know it's different with UFC to boxing. UFC is one organisation with all the best fighters in the world in it. Boxing's just nothing like that, and it never will be. But geez, how good would it be if that was the case? What do we got there? Andy, wish I could go, Lyndon. I'll just have to live my dreams 3 hours in the channel again, mate. Yeah, well, maybe one day. Look, I know, especially at the moment, it's not cheap to go, I will say, guys. Even if you can get there, it's not cheap. It's not too bad late January, we'll say, because it's just after school holidays. But, yeah, look, I know it's hard for a lot of people, whether it be time or expenses, whatever it might be. But rest assured, Andy, mate, when I'm there every single day, like the last time I was there, I will be doing I don't know whether you call this a vlog or whatever you might want to call it. It would be a sort of 10 to 15 minute video every single day. We will be getting some footage, I will be saying, of hopefully Tim, and I'm sure Glenn will give us some interviews. I won't bother Tim. He'll have enough on his plate that week. Plus the other news outlets and all that will be there. So I'm not even going to bother with Tim, but we might get a word with Glenn, maybe Nikita. There'll be a lot of people we can talk to over there. Maybe the Rose brothers might want to chat. Who knows? But So every day we'll be doing stuff and trying to bring you as much as we can. But I know, mate, it's not easy for everyone to get over there and do it. Carl says, me to Andy, I'm stuck working, watching on the big screen. Definitely bucket list. So, yeah, if you can get there, guys, just save up and get there because it's an awesome experience. But as I said, I'll be doing my best to live it all through my eyes. Tremendous idea. We'll get the big fights happen to it. Yeah, it will, Shane. This is the UFC or the numbered no limit cards. They do it sort of to some extent with the non pay-per-view shows. If you notice, they do the no limit on Fox or whatever. That's a take on the ESPN sort of things, or PBC, whatever it might be. So they do that. The next step, I just see it. They've got 4 guaranteed pay-per-views per year, 1, 2, 3, and 4, and just build it up and get everyone. You get the fans really revved up about this date we're going to have another, every quarter we're going to have a big pay-per-view event, and it just gets people, the word travels, and maybe we get a lot of those UFC type of fans out there that aren't necessarily big combat sports fans but just love the whole UFC event, and they get on there and just love watching the fights. Maybe we'll get some of those with boxing events as well. It might be No Limit 7. This is going to be the biggest one ever, and blah, 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 blah. And it just gets a few of those casual fans on there that we're not sort of getting at the moment when there's no really rhyme or reason to it and who's going to be on it and whatever. So that's, again, just my opinion. And again, if Bud versus Evans Zone really happens, I believe BLK Prime is real players. Well, I'll reserve my judgment on that, mate, until I see him do something in the industry. But if that happens, it's going to shake it up a little bit. What sites you use to get rankings? I'm more on Box Live, but keen to hear what's best and what everyone else uses. I don't really use. I think the Ring's probably a good one, Jay. I look at all the sanctioning bodies and sort of make my own conclusions. I don't think any of them are perfect. I really don't. Even the Ring's not perfect, but I think if I was going to rate one, I'd say the Ring for me. I don't rate BoxRec because it's all based on algorithms, and I just don't rate it. Bud versus Virgil Ortiz is my fantasy fight. Yeah, that would be a ripper, mate. Geez, that'd be. I still think Bud would win that one, but it wouldn't be easy. Mundine, best Aussie boxer last 20 years. I don't agree with that, Max, but I respect your opinion. I think there's probably been others that are better, but again, that's your opinion, and I'm not going to argue with her. So disappointed. What do we got? So disappointed. Welterweight undisputed Spence versus Bud couldn't get done. May as well roll in Mandos, but why is IBF so strict yet doesn't order Spence Mando? Hey, mate, your questions is answer that's as good as mine. Your guess. I don't know. And as I said a few times, the sanctioning bodies, what's good for one is not good for another. Who knows? The whole thing's just a circus. Any news on Harry Garside's hand and his next opponent? No, there's not, Carl. From what I hear, he's still out indefinitely and no sign of an opponent just yet. It won't be this year, obviously. I wouldn't be surprised if it might be, the first quarter of next year, sort of March to June, I would probably think. So the second quarter. When hands are involved, mate, you can't obviously fight without him. So it's a bit of a worry at this stage of his career. He's got those problems. But anyway, so last question here, guys, before we get off. Why did they call the Tim versus Jamel fight within 7 days of Jamel becoming undisputed? I've got a feeling, Carl, there might have been an arrangement already in place, I would think, that Tim stepped aside a couple of times. He definitely did for that fight with Castano. So I got no doubt there was an agreement in place, already set in stone, that if Jamel won, then the Tim fight would be now. 7 days is pretty soon, I must admit. But So was it a 5 or 6 month lead into their fight. So I know it was based on a lot of different things, but yeah, it's an interesting one. But that's probably what I've gathered so far, Carl, is that it was predetermined that's what was going to happen. So as soon as Jamel won, it was just a matter of pushing the button. I know Team Zoo's a little bit frustrated at the moment with PBC and a few of the others that the ball's not rolling as far as the official announcement of everything about. We know the two are fighting on January 28th, but we don't know that the MGM Grand hasn't officially been announced as the venue, even though I think we all know that's where it's going to be. There hasn't been officially announced that's it. And there's been nothing from PBC as an official announcement. Tickets, obviously, there's no announcement about that either. And we're, what are we, 8 weeks out? 10 weeks. About 10 weeks out we are. So, yeah, I don't know. Lots of questions there, mate. But look, it'll happen pretty quick. The ball will get rolling, and all of a sudden we'll be into Christmas, New Year, and then we're into the fight. It'll come out really, really quick. All right, guys. Well, that's it for me. Yep, really appreciate you guys. Thanks, Carl. Thanks for the chat. Yep, that's awesome. Thanks again, Andy. Really appreciate it, mate. And don't forget to like, subscribe, share, all those things. And really look forward to seeing you on Wednesday night at 7:45. Thanks, guys.